The top 10 most toxic locations on Earth.
10.
Russia's Lake Karachay.
Our tiny lake in Russia's southern Ural Mountains is an obvious choice for our list because it is just as radioactive as Chernobyl. The Soviets dumped radioactive waste there, and it is now entirely filled in and utilized as a facility for the storage of dry nuclear waste. Despite being the most polluted open space in the world, Karachay is thankfully far from any significant cities and is now less dangerous because it has been filled in. Nevertheless, Lake Karachay is still routinely checked to make sure the radiation levels are not rising.
9. Chernobyl, Ukraine.
The Chernobyl meltdown is still the worst nuclear accident in history, despite having little to do with climate change. The once fertile metropolis was transformed into an unhealthy wasteland that is now uninhabitable. Chernobyl has been listed as one of the world's most polluted sites ever since the catastrophe on April 26, 1986. A 19-mile exclusion zone has been established around the city since there is still a lot of radioactivity there. Radiation poisoning has caused other locals to pass away or suffer long-term health consequences. Despite all of this, Chernobyl is now a popular tourist destination, and tours are available that visit specific parts of the town. Although there is a low chance of contracting radiation poisoning, especially given the brief amount of time spent there, people still run the risk of falling ill and developing long-term health issues.
8.
Kazakhstan's Semipalatinsk. In addition to developing and testing chemical weapons in Dzerzhinsk, the Soviet Union also conducted extensive testing in Semipalatinsk. From 1949 to 1989, Semipalatinsk was the site of an astounding 456 nuclear tests. You can imagine the damage that has been done to the area and the local population. During the testing period, 1.5 million people may have been exposed to radiation, and the Soviet Union showed no concern for the citizens of Kazakhstan. Children are still being born with radiation-related birth abnormalities, and the testing's after-effects can still be seen in the general contamination of the region. According to a 2010 BBC report, in the regions most severely impacted by the radiation, 1 in 20 children are born with genetic abnormalities. 7. India, New Delhi. One of the most poisonous cities on Earth is also the capital of India. Despite the fact that New Delhi and its surrounding areas are home to 28.5 million people, the air quality makes it such a terrible place to live. On the Air Quality Index scale, it consistently receives a dangerous rating, a health warning that means everyone should avoid all outdoor exertion. Not an easy task in a city with so many inhabitants. Along with the lack of clean air, other significant issues include crowding, industrial waste, and an excessive number of cars, with the carbon dioxide produced by all the moving vehicles, adding to the air pollution problem.
6.
Tianying, China. It is understandable why Tianying made this list since it is one of the biggest lead production sites in China. Here, more than half of the nation's lead is produced, and because there is little regulation or government oversight, industries may operate here without worrying about facing consequences for the harm they are doing to the town's residents and the environment. Lead poisoning is a serious issue. Tests of soil and air samples revealed levels of lead that were 8, 5 and 10 times, respectively, over the national health requirements. Local farmers have also been affected since crops that have been coated with lead dust from the factory have lead levels that are 24 times too high. Almost everyone has experienced some type of lead poisoning, and both physical and mental abnormalities and diseases are prevalent health problems.
5.
Kabwe, Zambia. Unfortunately, Kabwe has the distinction of being a sacrifice zone, or a location that has been negatively impacted by environmental problems. Large lead and zinc resources were discovered nearby and exploited for many years, which resulted in widespread lead and zinc poisoning. Traces of lead, cadmium, zinc, and copper have been discovered in the water, soil, and air in the area due to contamination of the local water system. Kabwe is still exceedingly hazardous, despite the efforts of the Zambian government to decrease the threats to the environment and public health. The city has received tens of millions of dollars in investment, but it doesn't seem to have had much of an impact. Furthermore, the fact that many kids still play in polluted areas because they have nowhere else to go is a hindrance. 4. Hazaribagh, Bangladesh. Fast fashion contributes significantly to global pollution, especially if you are aware of the manufacturing processes used. Particularly leather is in high demand and is produced in third world nations where labor is inexpensive. In Hazaribagh, where there are about 150 tanneries run by underpaid locals, that is precisely what takes place. When it comes to workplace safety in Hazaribagh, it's like the Wild West because the region is free from many common standards other firms must adhere to. On a regular basis, workers are exposed to hazardous products and risky working situations. The majority of the workers have rashes, body aches, nausea, corroded limbs, acid burns, and other serious long-term illnesses like cancer and respiratory conditions. The environment is also affected, with water pollution at an all-time high and terrible air quality brought on by air pollution. 3. Dzerzhinsk, Russia. The majority of the chemicals produced in Russia are produced at Dzerzhinsk. Its primary export is still chemicals, this time for a variety of private and retail products. The region formerly housed the nation's chemical weapon facilities. The majority of the Soviet Union's chemical weapon experiments between 1939 and 1988 took place in and around Dzerzhinsk. There has been an estimated 300,000 tons of chemical waste deposited. And the water supply is approximately 17 million times more contaminated with dioxins and phenol than it should be. Its death rate was 260% higher than its birth rate in 2003, earning it the title of most chemically polluted city on Earth in the Guinness Book of World Records. 2. Citarum River, Indonesia. You shouldn't swim in the Citarum River because it is one of the most contaminated rivers in the world. Over 20,000 tons of waste and 340,000 tons of wastewater are dumped into the third longest river in Java, Indonesia, by textile factories. The Citarum's surface is frequently obscured by floating trash, including everything from plastic bottles to animal carcasses. While the levels of lead are about 1,000% higher than they should be, the amount of aluminum that was found in the water was 3 times the acceptable level. This is a significant problem, especially given that the river is a significant source of water for about 25 million people. People who depend on the river water for survival now have a wide range of health problems as a result of this. 1. Agbogbloshie, Ghana. Everyone is screaming for the newest smartphone or big screen TV as technology advances at a rapid rate. This indicates that there are several outdated electronic goods that require disposal. Unfortunately, there aren't many options to recycle electrical items, so they usually wind up in landfills. Agbogbloshie in Ghana is one of the worst sites where dumping happens, often illegally.